Thank yous to everyone for taking the survey, first of all. Thank you. We conducted that a little while ago, so we're thankful that we are able to now be transparent and open up those survey results to everyone. I am Thalia Ewing, aka Muziqueen,
I
and
am Mimi McCarley.
we also have Natalie Bailey here of Lady Savage PR, and she will be our content manager and be taking,
Correspondent.
yes, and taking questions, and we'll pop in periodically with her from our audience and things like that. So we conducted the survey a little while ago, like I said, in June, mid-June, and the purpose for conducting the survey was really to hear from the people, Mimi and myself and a lot of our panelists here who we will introduce in just a moment, are on the front lines in Nashville, working with creatives on all levels professionally and collaboratively on their careers. And we wanted to hear from the creatives directly on what their experience has been like in navigating through Nashville and Music Row and trying to advance their career. And so that was the purpose of the survey. And we got some pretty interesting feedback. I wasn't really surprised by a lot of the information, but some people were. And I think it's important that Music Row in general hear from the public and understand how we can better build the relationship between Music Row and the Nashville creative community for all genres of music. Mimi?
Yeah, so I will say that our purpose here today is really to talk on the solution side. This is a growing community, it's a growing city. There's a lot of opportunity. And with each of you being leaders in Music City in your own rights, especially as it pertains to genres outside of country music. So that's the intent and the purpose of us, is to discuss solutions and ideas, because I know that in several pockets, in small conversations, we talk about this. And so we just wanted to have this healthy discussion around solutions and things that can be tangible. There's things that Music Row have done that maybe we can do more of, as it pertains to resources and opportunities for this ever-growing, thriving creative community. So we'll jump right in to our introductions first. I think it's important for everyone to know who's represented. We have a full house. We have so much expertise here in all of our panelists. And so I'm so excited to share what you all do and who you are in this community to the Nashville community who's watching and viewing with us. So we'll start with Wes, and we'll just kind of work our way around the screen there.
Hey everybody, I'm Wes Davenport. I'm the founder of PopSquad. It's a pop music community here in Nashville. We connect artist to artist so they can write together, remix, produce, or just be good friends and network. We connect artists to industry so they can work together on that side, and artists to fans. So we're set up in that way. Everything's super digital right now. And yeah, I do work for 1824. Universal Music Group is my full-time gig. And I also do playlisting for a Nashville media website. It's called No Country for New Nashville.
And just so we're clear, is it the same on everybody's screen, or is it like everybody is?
Well, I'll call everybody out. I'll call them out.
Cool. Okay, cool. I was just making sure.
We'll go to Rachel next.
Hi, everyone. My name is Rachel Wein. I am on the A&R team at a music publishing company called Prescription Songs. We've been in Nashville, and I've been with the company for about 3.5, 4 years. Before that, our primary office was in LA. And really the main reason that we moved out to Nashville was specifically to focus on all of the amazing non-country talent out here. I think we noticed that there were amazing creatives, producers, writers, artists, people who do a little bit of everything, who the talent was there. It was just, they didn't necessarily have the resources or didn't have publishers in town who necessarily understood their vision. So yeah, you know, over the past few years, we've definitely expanded genre-wise and always seeking to include a little bit of everything. But first and foremost, we're here to really be a home and be a resource to the hip hop and pop and sort of everything outside the normal country realm here.
I think we'll hear that consistently, everything outside of country. So I love that. We're so glad to have you here, Rachel. Eric, who's been here forever, just a staple and an anchor here in the city.
What do you mean? I'm only 22 years old.
Oh, stop.
Nah. So yeah, so I've been in Nashville for a while, for sure. Going on 20 years, producing exclusively R&B hip hop shows in the city. I also, with the company Lovenoise, also artist here in Nashville, Tim Gent, Bryant Taylor, A.B. Eastwood. Definitely work with Prescription. They're great partners in what we do on the publishing side. And I also teach. I'm an assistant professor of music business at Belmont University.
Awesome. So happy you're here. I know you have a lot to add value to this conversation. We're going to jump to Lee.
What's going on, y'all? All right,
Nashville
all right.
Brand.
Yeah, man. Nashville native. Lee Evans, the right hook, songwriter, recording artist, stuff like that. But primarily today, I'm here representing I'm the founder and instructor for the Music Industry Crash Course. It's the MIC, the MICC. We do a lot of educational platforms. As far as we're trying to educate the recording artists and the creators on how the music business side of everything works, helping them register with their PROs and publishing companies and things of that nature. I'm also the director for the Urban Music Council for the Nashville Industry Music Awards, and just here on the front lines to make sure that, you know, hip hop in particular, man, rap music, got a voice and got a space at the table to make sure we all get represented properly.
Awesome. So glad to have Lee on board. He's Nashville native and he's been fighting this good fight for a long time. So, and he's seen the scope of Nashville change over the years. So he'll add a lot. We have Doc Watson of RMG Reflection Music Group.
Hey, what's going on? It's good to be a part of this. We're based in Nashville. It's good to meet all you guys. I haven't had a chance to meet a lot of you, so hopefully I'll be able to connect with you guys in the future. But we're based here. Our main artists are, well, actually my business partner is Derek Miner. He owns the company with me. We have a few other artists here that are located, Cannon and, well, Byron sometimes. But we specialize in more of a conscious Christian hip hop era, but also overall marketing for all genres. We have two companies. We have the RMG proper side, and we have RMG Amplify, and then we have a pub admin company. And we're building on more pieces as we go, but we've definitely been entrenched in Nashville for a while, and definitely want to be involved in, you know, all things hip hop for sure in Nashville. So it's good to meet you guys.
Yes, Doc is, oh man, RMG is so good. They grow and scale artists, hip hop artists, and they're very good at what they do when it comes to the label side, the distribution side. So very happy to have you here, Doc. Thank you so much. We got Chris. Everybody knows Chris because Chris has been to every show in Nashville.
Yeah, hi everybody. As Mimi said, before all this, I was at shows pretty much every night, but my role is sort of split between, I'm director of A&R and research at Atlantic Records, have been there for about 9 years, 5 of those years here in Nashville. So I got 5 more years before I think I'm like completely like entrenched in the community. 10 years is what people say or whatever.
Yeah.
No, and then besides that, I also work in artist management. Only 2 clients on that side are Lamar, Nashville-based alternative R&B, and Galaxara, which is more like epic pop music. But she's based in LA. But I love being here. I'm super stoked to be a part of this discussion, as I feel like almost all of us on here have had this discussion at one point or another at a venue or at a show or at a march. I think that was the last time that I saw a few of you. So I'm glad we're having this in a more of an open forum.
Yes, absolutely. So glad to have Chris here. He came to town and got busy, man. Chris is everywhere. He has a pulse on what's happening in Nashville for sure. And then we also so happy to have Gabby Jones with us. So elated and look forward to hearing what you have to say. I think.
Hey, so Gabby Jones. I am the Artist Relations Content Marketing Manager over at RCAI.
That's a lot.
I have a lot of titles that go into space. Of course, I've worked with Doc, plenty of projects. I started here in Nashville. I've been here 7 years. Started at E1 first, and then I moved over to RCAI. Sony, of course, RCAI. The inspiration side was in New York, which moved here about 4 years ago, something like that. And so I deal with all artist relation issues, problems, and good things, but all award shows, all contents, videos, music, cover arts, photography, you name it, as far as content driven for our digital and consumption team. That's what I house, and just, I'm the fix-it person, I guess. If all else fails, call Gabby. She will try to get a resolve for you.
Every team has one. Every team has one. Gabby's so happy to have you here. A wealth of knowledge, and in such a digital space, I think she's going to be able to add a lot of value to our conversation. Thalia, I think we should tell them about what Nashville is not just country music is all about.
Absolutely.
We'll introduce ourselves.
Absolutely. So Nashville's not just country music, is just that. I am a Nashville native and have been on this journey for a long time. As a matter of fact, Eric and I knew each other when he was in law school at Vanderbilt, and doing this, and we had this conversation way back then about how difficult it was for us to maneuver in the hip-hop space in Nashville. Like it is way better than it was, in the early 2000s. So we have been pushing this message for a very long time. And that is what Nashville's Not Just Country Music is all about. It was birthed because there was a need for representation, a voice for creatives who don't do country music. Beyond just, being able to collaborate, it's really the business aspect, because we have the talent down, no question, without a doubt. It's the business infrastructure and that aspect that is needed to really help push the urban music community to where it needs to be here in Nashville. And so Nashville's Not Just Country Music is about that, providing opportunities to get on a stage, music business, education, networking opportunities, a home, if you will, for anybody who creates or is involved in music some kind of way that doesn't deal with country music, and wanting a home for those people. And we have grown and been a support to the creative community. And this is just one more of those ways that we're going to keep supporting them by bringing this topic to Music Row, direct to them, to hear from the people of what is needed in order to bridge the gap, to strengthen the ties between Music Row and creators of all genres of music in addition to country music. So that's what.
Did y'all hear the passion in her voice, man? Listen, I love it. I hear it every time, and we talk about this all the time. And so good for you. We'll be facilitating this conversation, and it's going to be great. We'll be checking in with Natalie Bailey here, who is our correspondent. So let's jump in. Let's dive right into the results. Thalia, let's lead that.
Okay.
We'll start with
Right. So
66.1.
Yeah, go ahead.
66.1% of the participants were between the ages of 25 and 32. Okay, I'm going to give you some stats, and then we're going to dialogue and kind of park where it matters. 43% of our participants were white, 46% were Black. This is interesting because there's an equal representation here. And then we had about 11% representing the Hispanic, Latin, Asian, or biracial community. So again, 43 and 46 as it pertains to white and Black participants. Genre, again, another statistic that was equal. 25% of the participants are creators of hip hop music. 25% are creators of R&B music. Right here in Nashville. Country came in at 19 and then pop at 11%. And again, this is just of those who were surveyed and who participated in this survey. And fourth, the expertise. So 40% of our participants were artists. So we know that there is a massively growing artist community that is underrepresented as it pertains to business infrastructure, resource management, marketing, all the other support mechanisms that are needed. And so I want to park here because this is interesting to me. Eric, I would like to ask you, what made you transition? You're known for doing great shows, and you've always obviously had to work with the artists in a very close fashion to do those shows, but what made you transition, or better yet, expand to artist management in this climate in Nashville at this time?
Well, you know, honestly, this is a part of my story not everybody knows. I started in the music industry as a manager. And from the management experience, Lovenoise was birthed out of that because we saw a need while we were managing that first artist. So about 18 years ago, we were managing an artist by the name of B Hill. He was kind of like a Kanye before Kanye. Deprecating.
Thalia, you remember that, Thalia?
Yeah.
Like I said, me and Eric have been on this journey a very, very, very long time. So yes, I know B Hill very well. Yes.
And he, you know, he was a really talented kid, and he was a young guy. We got called up to New York, flown up to New York. A lot of attention from outside of Nashville for this guy. He decided to get out of the industry for personal reasons. And what me and my business partners had all this energy. And it's like, you know what, let's stay in business and solve one of the problems we experienced trying to launch an artist out of Nashville. And the problem that we attempted to solve, which for a long time, I think we definitely did solve it and still continue to do it, was provide a platform for Black music in Nashville. Because when we were trying to book him different places, you know, even before I was trying to do shows as a promoter, as a manager, I would go to places, say, hey, can we get a night here? Can we get a night there? And the literal answer would be, we don't do Black music here. And that was a long time ago. You know, Nashville is not like that these days, but that's how it used to be. And so after the management experience, got into promotions. The reason I decided to get back into the management business is because Nashville, as Thalia was saying earlier, it's not the same Nashville. It's progressed. It has progressed. And beyond Nashville, just the country and the way that they receive and understand Black culture overall is different. And there is tons, and it always has been, tons of talent right here in Nashville. And there is a gap between the business professionals that need to support artistry and the actual artist. And so with all the experience I've gained over those years as a promoter and consultant in all the rooms I've been in, wanted to contribute that talent and that experience to local artists. So that's why we decided to get back into it.
I love that. And I have to ask you, before I go to Chris, I have to ask you, what successes, so you have specifically talked about the difference between when you were doing it then and you're doing it now. What successes have you experienced in modern day Nashville, and what challenges have you continued to face that maybe is a little bit reminiscent of what you experienced in the past?
Well, one of the main things, we were able to secure publishing deals with the two writers in the group, Tim, Jen, and Brian Taylor. And, you know, it's with Prescription Songs. And that seems like a small thing, but it's a really big thing for local
No.
rappers and R&B singers to start that way. The strategy is to secure, Thalia and I, we've talked about this before from a publishing standpoint, really being in the business from the business end first, and then create the artist and artistry after that. Because what happens a lot of times, we try to, and this is not just in urban music, but a lot of artists try to jump into the music industry as artists and don't have any financial support, don't have any real business understanding. And regardless of how talented they are, they fail because they don't have enough, they don't have enough relationships, all these things. So the strategy was to get these guys into rooms because they're talented writers before we met them. I mean, guys have talent, but connecting that part with the industry so that they can have that financial base and even the relationships. So when they go into the artistry part, they can go a little bit further than just trying to jump out there cold turkey.
Absolutely. And this is where I want, if you're watching, I want you to...
I have one quick question to that. Eric, you said you went and introduced them to different relationships before. I'm sure Prescription wasn't the only one. What was the interest like when you met with other companies, publishers, labels, anybody who in regards to Tim and your artists? What was that experience like?
So, I have a business partner, Zach Cobb, and we co-manage these artists together. And really it's a tale of relationships. Chris Martignago, right here on this panel with us, he introduced us to a lot of people. He opened up his Rolodex, honestly, to all the publishers he knew, and we walked them around. And there was decent interest in both of them. We landed with Prescription, but it wasn't even things that we knew when we met Tim and Brian. There were relationships that developed over time with other people within our network. And Chris can talk more about, why he does what he does and how he does what he does. But the Chris's of the world, a lot of them wasn't here before. And people like Chris, people like him in the city now, where it's not, he didn't look at us as necessarily, Black rapper trying to infiltrate or this or that. It's that, hey, these guys are talented. Let's see if we can give them a place to land and to push them forward. And so those relationships have continued to build over time. And there's just more of people like him in the city than there were 10, 15 years ago.
Absolutely. And it takes it's a communal thing. So just like the creative community, the support, the artists, the business community has to come together, just like they did in this particular deal to land to Hometown Heroes, a deal with RX Song. So we love seeing that. Now, Chris, we do have to go to you now because you are so versed as it pertains to management, with having the most, I guess, known here in Nashville, R. Lamar. What have you experienced with building his career here in Nashville, as it pertains to shows, press, partnerships, all the things that are necessary to build?
Yeah, I mean, so in relation to Reggie and the R. Lamar project, it was, we grew up together in town. I used to sing in a band, and the whole concept of like managing, I think my whole pitch to him was, I have no idea what I'm doing, but like, I'm excited about you. And I really want to like try to help figure this out. Sorry, my puppy keeps trying to figure out how to get in here. I just want to help you like figure this out. And so we did this in Orlando, and every time, it was never really an issue to kind of like book a show. And at that point, he was doing what he calls his best John Mayer impression with like more like folky style finger picking music, which was incredible to me. But it wasn't until I moved to Nashville and he was wrapping up with school and really trying to take the music thing seriously that he started sort of coming on to what this R. Lamar sound was. And I did, when I first came to Nashville, started reaching out to venues, various promoters, and I got a similar kind of response that Eric got maybe early on, but in a different way. And a lot of, I feel like what you hear is like kind of coded language where it's not overtly racist, but it just says, we don't really do hip hop shows. And like, but they weren't, that just told me they weren't listening to the music that I was presenting. So, cause Reggie's not a hip hop artist. Like there's storytelling in his music like hip hop, but it's more like folk in a alternative R&B production. Like, so to me, it was just a matter of trying to find people who understood, and, you know, talking to Wes and then talking to Adrian Irvin. There were people who gave us a chance. We ended up selling out a venue, and then all of a sudden, all of the venues that were saying no were like, let's do this. You know? So, but we remembered that, and there was a reason why we stuck with the venue that we stuck with. And it's never just like one place or one person. It's like everybody keeps talking about here. It's a communal thing. So for Reggie, it really was like, we felt like we had reached this plateau of where we could go in Orlando, and we wanted to be a part of a scene that was growing and changing, and was hungry for that change, honestly. So that was the whole thing, is I just wanted to support my friend, and we've made music we're really proud of, and we've got a long way to go, but I'm proud for what it means for him and his career. I'm proud for what it means for Nashville. I'm proud that just about everyone on here has worked or been a part of Reggie's story in some capacity, whether it's sessions through Rachel or events and shows through Wes, or conversations and shows like playing the open mic, like everything, you know, that it's that communal nature of it. That's this, like, you don't have to directly benefit from a financial standpoint to get that benefit of like, oh wow, this is the great things that can happen when you don't make it just about you, you know? And because to me it was just like what Eric said. I just loved what they were doing, but there wasn't. I was like, I feel like I'm not going to be as helpful as some of the publishers might be in this landscape, because these guys can write and are going to develop through that. And so, and then it takes somebody special like Rachel to see that too, and then know what to like go the next step, you know, and then have everybody supporting that. I think it's a beautiful thing, you know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so I want to check in with Natalie. I just want to see, what is the audience saying? One, I want to celebrate the fact that Brian Taylor and Tim Gent, that is big. It's not a little thing at all by a long shot. That's a big deal for Nashville.
That's huge for Nashville.
Absolutely. So congratulations, RX Song, for coming into town and showing us how it's done.
Yes, if we can get more Music Row publishers to adopt that, you know, same mentality and thought process to, you know, open up their doors to other genres of music. It's only been a benefit, I'm sure, Rachel, right? I mean, it's not turned out to be anything bad. Just take a chance, you know, and just kind of see what happens. If you can take a chance on a country writer, then I don't really see, you know, what the difference is in taking a chance on anybody else.
On a great writer.
Yeah. You know, great songs are great songs, and writers come in all shades and colors and write all genres of music. So, you know, Music Row really should do a better job of opening up the door to at least listen, you know, to listen. It's not even about give me a deal. It's about, yo, I'm talented. I just need some direction. I need some resources. I need some assistance on my way. And you know, that's what it's about. So, yeah.
Yes, so let's check in with Natalie. Natalie, do we have anything that's happening in our thread?
Well, in the thread, people are staying pretty quiet when it's coming to questions. I think everybody's kind of sitting back and listening all of the information.
Absolutely.
We did have Antoinette said, hello, everyone. And Chris, that was very well said. It takes a community. Jonathan Harwell says, thank you guys for everything you do. And Trez says, y'all are just speaking facts and we are taking it all in.
All right. Well, let the facts roll on then.
Right. So yeah, that'll take us to
this-
the next question, right?
Yes. Would you like to ask that, Thalia? Go
Yeah,
ahead.
so the next stat was how lived in Nashville. Most are here, 35% have only been here 1 to 5 years, 22% 5 to 10 years. So again, most people are new to Nashville, have been here relatively short in their career. And that takes me to the next question of 89% are here to pursue a career in music in some way.
Wow.
And that is, you know, overwhelming to know that people have moved here. These are people who have not been in the city longer than 10 years, you know, 10 years or less. And they came here specifically on that dream, you know, probably scraped up a little bit of money, you know, just, I gotta go to Nashville. You know, it's people move here like actors move to LA, you know, to pursue that career. And I did the same thing. Mine was just opposite. And I had to move away from Nashville, you know, to find my footing. And I was a native and tried to get it done here. So I find it fascinating that now the times have flipped when we had to leave Nashville, but now the rest of the world is trying to come here to pursue their music career. Like, that is phenomenal to me that the numbers were so high of people who have moved here to pursue a career in music, you know? So, Rachel, with the prescription songs and moving to Nashville, like you said, just recently, you're one of those 3 to 4, and Gabby, you as well. You all have the companies themselves are moving here, so it's not just, you know, a person that's pursuing the whole music industry is shifting to moving towards Nashville, corporations and everything. And so we just want to engage you all about what that is like and why are people moving to Nashville. What is the reason for that? Why did you all come, and why did E1, such a major company, look to Nashville as to come now and set up shop here?
I would take the same sentiments as you know, that pursuit of music. You know, it's Music Row. Music Row, I think, has a lot more weight than we think that it does. It's more of it took on the Hollywood for Los Angeles. I'm from LA. So I was used to everyone navigating to the West Coast to hit Hollywood, you know, and so that's to pursue their acting or their music career. And the shift happened to the South. A lot of things from the West Coast really came over to Atlanta, is now the new mecca of just, you know, television and just how to stretch that dollar. A lot of companies moved over to the southern regions to really expand and have their companies set there. But Nashville, I remember when I told my family I was taking the job, and they were like, Nashville, it was just automatically assumed that it was just, you going for country music? You know, and I was like, no. I said, to your surprise, a lot of R&B artists actually record their albums here. And people just don't know that, you know, because it's somewhere that's free. It's where creatives are. It's a space. You don't have to worry about, you know, being seen in there's a lot of cool pockets out here. So I think that became interesting to companies, to where it's when you have high profile artists or celebrities, you'll be surprised to know how many high profile celebrities from all genres actually live here. So I think it's coupled with a lot of things, but definitely Music Row. Everyone wants to come to Music Row, and I think that's why when I first looked, it has to be more of a diverse, you know, melting pot, like gumbo. You just throw everything in, and then you see come up with. But that's what I'm excited about. Just, you know, this is my first time really just being involved in something in Nashville. We're always working and going when I first moved here. And so I thank you for even just, you know, reaching out to me, just say, hey, because I really want to get back involved here to see, you know, from gospel, I have R&B background. It just kind of depends, you know, what we can actually bring here and just give a whole, you know, spectrum of just music as a whole. So I'm excited.
Great.
I
Rachel,
will say this, we need to hashtag Music Roll Gumbo. I love it.
Music
I
Row
love
Gumbo.
it. I'm here for Music Roll Gumbo.
Yeah.
Rachel,
yeah.
specifically, why did RX, like what attracted RX songs to Nashville? How did you, when you first got here, connect with the local creative community, and how are you still doing that now?
Yeah, so in terms of the actual decision to move here, 100% of that credit goes to my boss, Katie Fagan, who I had actually moved to Nashville on my own and got linked up with Prescription maybe 6 months into living here. And I think a lot of that desire comes from the company culture that was already sort of cultivated at Prescription, which is historically we love finding stuff really early and sort of like getting in there, doing the grunt work and being part of that story from the beginning. You know, rather than certain publishing companies who might be a little bit more after, you know, who has a number one right now and how can we snag them? For us, it's a lot of our success over the years has been finding the 20-year-old who, you know, is a student and just has a really awesome voice and a really awesome work ethic and sort of developing them. And then 5 years later, a good example for us, Kat, even, you know, we've had her signed for, I think, 8 years. And that's a project that our boss just really believed in from the very beginning. And so I think because of that landscape, when Katie had visited Nashville and was meeting a bunch of amazing talent, she proposed the move out here. Our boss, Luke, was completely on board, and then Katie hired me on right away. And a lot of the way that we've been meeting people, it's so Nashville. And when I say this to my friends who live in LA, they think it's so odd, but a lot of the writers that we've signed have been through other publishers. Even I have 2 A&R friends over at Big Machine, which is a predominantly country. Within the past week, they've sent me 2 pop and hip hop writers in town that they're like, we don't really know what to do, but we recognize that they have talent and we, you know, just sort of want to spread the love and help connect dots. 100% credit goes to Chris for introducing us to Tim. Like that was fully through him. And so there's a really amazing energy. I truly think within all of Nashville, but then specifically, you know, within this little community where everyone seems to just be very open to making connections and sort of connecting the dots just to, I think everyone realizes it all feeds into the same system, right? You know, Reggie Arlamar winning is a win for me and for Prescription. Whether or not we have cuts on the album he's releasing is sort of irrelevant. I think the more conversations I have with people around town, the more I realize it really is just sort of a united front of we want Nashville to be a place that people can live and stay here and create legitimate pop, hip hop, R&B music and have it be recognized from the outside as sort of being legitimate without them having to move, you know. I think as a company, one of our biggest goals is to have an artist really break from Nashville and stay in Nashville and sort of represent their roots in Nashville. So it's definitely a team effort.
Absolutely. That's so good. And I can hear the passion, and I love it when you can hear the passion and the heartbeat of a company, especially as it comes through the people who represent that company. So we hear that passion and heartbeat of RX songs, and I believe you. I don't know if everybody else I believe what you're saying, and that is very hopeful and makes us optimistic as a creative community. So I love it. I'm here for it. I love it. All right, so our next stat was 50% feel that they can have a successful career in Nashville. 40% feel that they can sometimes have a successful career in Nashville. Lee, Briefly share your experience. Being a Nashville native, you've seen a lot happen. Share your experience as an artist and as a music business professional in Nashville, and particularly on Music Row. What has that been like for you?
So piggybacking on the topic y'all were just kind of speaking on and just kind of tying it all in together. I'm actually one of those Nashville natives as well that packed it all up and moved away from here after going to Music Row and BMI on several occasions back in my artist day, letting Thomas Kane and them listen to my music on their open days, to come in and check out your music and things of that nature, and was just consistently told, I like your stuff, but there's nothing I can do with it. I got to send you to my peoples down in Atlanta. So I did just that. 2009, I kind of reached my peak as an artist. Got to the point where I was on radio here and doing shows, winning awards, all of that good stuff, but still couldn't get to that next level in my career, so to speak. So I moved away in 2010 to Atlanta, was there for almost 8 years, definitely made some traction and some headway there. And one of those things I experienced while even being in Atlanta, kind of going back to what y'all was saying with the whole Music Row gumbo kind of thing, outside looking in, prior to moving to Nashville, I didn't really see the value in Nashville as an urban recording artist that I had to see once I got to Atlanta. Because when I got to Atlanta, what I started to experience was the middleman syndrome is what I call it, in a sense. Because every person that you would meet knows somebody and is connected to somebody, but nobody there can tell you yes directly. I would be doing my music industry crash course panels and wanting to partner with your CSACs, your ASCAPs, and BMIs. And at the end of the day, it was like, yeah, this is a great idea. We love to partner with you, but let me run it by the headquarters. And then they would be contacting somebody here in Nashville. So it's like, well, dang, I might as well go back to Nashville and get the direct connect myself. You know what I mean? So now outside looking in, being that I've done that same journey there, I was able, while I was living in Atlanta, was able to really look back at my hometown and see the benefit. Greg Smith, Greg, that's what I'm saying. Even with Greg, I met Greg Smith, seriously, I met Greg Smith through my direct connect here in Nashville, though. That's how I was introduced to Greg when he first got the position at CSAC down in Atlanta. You know what I mean? It was crazy. He ended up moving here as well and how that transpired. But on the recording artist side of it, again, it was like I got stuck in a situation where I kind of seemed to outgrew Nashville, only to really find out that Nashville needed people like me, as far as being somebody that can, that has those relationships with a Music Row, but can take it back to the streets, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? I'm on the rapper side of it. So rappers don't really get a Music Row. They don't really understand the behind the scenes side of how the music industry works. And the whole thing that y'all talking about now, as far as with the building of the relationships and working your way from the back side of it to the front sometimes. Sometimes you got to get that pub deal, like Eric was saying, to build you up some capital, to put into yourself, into your career, to take it to those next levels. And people think just automatically, let me get out of Nashville. You know what I mean? Like, it's not really just Nashville. One thing that I feel like is a plus side of Nashville for artists, not even just looking at Music Row, but Nashville is a college town. Colleges make and break artists all the time. So if you're an artist here in the city of Nashville, you don't necessarily have to go out of town, where you can just go to a TSU. You can go to an MTSU or Vanderbilt. You know what I mean? And you can build your fan base right here in this city and don't even have to worry about people that's born and raised from Nashville either. A lot of people get stuck in that kind of mentality, wanting to please their friends, please the people that they grew up around and stay in that neighborhood kind of mindset, when really Nashville is already a nationwide city. Like the lady was saying earlier, like Gabby said, people hear all the time of the major industry, in and out of our studios, using our producers, using our writers, and things of that nature. It's just us on the urban side, hip hop especially, we don't tap in to them the way we should. I feel like a lot of times it's a two-way street, to whereas we got to get comfortable with crossing over and breaking down those barriers. You know, utilize these resources that's right here under our nose. I go and book songwriting time at the CSEC office. I go and book songwriting time at the ASCAP office. You know what I mean? These are things that don't cost you any money if you're affiliated with these PROs, and then you can put yourself on these people's radar. You know, just like the lady said earlier as well, I'm sure people come here all the time and they're looking for urban writers for their songs. They're looking for a hip hop feature on some of their music, but out of sight, out of mind. If ASCAP don't even know that you're a hip hop writer here in Nashville because you've never stepped foot in their office, you've never built a relationship with one of the PRO reps there, they won't think to call you to get you to write on this country music artist that is looking for a rapper on their song. You know, so I feel like, you know, relationship building and, you know, just leading by example. That's kind of what I'm here to do is show people that somebody like us can cross over into that world, though, of Music Row and become somebody and connect with the right people with it. I think I kind of answered what you was asking, though. I hope I did.
No, it does. It does, and much more. Like, the insight is really good. So pretty much you're saying from a barrier standpoint, some of the barrier is sometimes a person, their own self, or, you know, not being, just going and putting yourself in the middle of it. Go put yourself in the middle of it. So I love that insight and perspective. I'm going to pause because I see a lot of activity happening in our chat room. So I want to go to Natalie Bailey of Lady Savage PR, and I want to check in with our viewers.
Yes, there is a bit of discussion going on right now. We had a great question from Desiree Holiday. She said, how is it Nashville publishers are not sure what to do when it comes to other genres? Are they not sure how to market it maybe? Or does it seem like they just don't want to touch hip hop and R&B? Which also kind of spun off into some other dialogue. And a lot of responses are saying that maybe it's that they don't want to touch it, but that it's they simply don't have the background or know how to make the proper moves within these genres outside of country.
That's it. Yeah, I'm sorry. I personally think that's it. You know, on Music Row, there are a lot of companies, but there's not someone who works in that company that would be in a position to, if they heard something, be like, oh, I know exactly who I need to talk to. You know, we can help, you know, or anything like that. Lee, just like Lee was mentioning, going to ASCAP, you know, a writer that does go to ASCAP and take their music, and there's not an ASCAP rep that specializes or has some kind of familiarity with urban music, hip hop music, or anything like that, that person is going to hear, just like you heard, you're going to have to go to Atlanta, or you're going to have to do this or that. And that can be discouraging to someone. It's like, well, I'm here in Nashville. I'm not in Atlanta, or I'm not in LA. I am in Nashville. So why are you giving me information in a whole nother state that's not going to benefit me? You know, so I think that's where Music Row could do a little bit better, you know, and making sure that they have, you know, at least a representative that can help those creatives who come into their door and say, this is what I do, and I'm a writer, and I need assistance, especially for some of those companies where this is what they primarily do. Your PRO, that is what they are there to do. The ASCAP, BMI, they don't service just Nashville. They service the Southeast region and things like that. So you have to take into consideration that people who your creators are not just doing one genre of music. You know, it is very important for you to be able to cater to all of your clients as a PRO when they come in there and are looking for just the things that Lee, you know, said. And flip side, yes, we do need to go over there, because if 20 urban creatives went to their PRO a day, every day, then the PROs are going to start to be like, well, I guess we might need to start looking at servicing this community because we are now being on set a lot from the creatives. So you're
saying the creative community should put a demand, a little bit of a demand on music.
That's right. You're going to, again, you know, when we do our urban mixers, and we do them at the PROs, and we have 200 plus creatives, and the staff people are like, well, I didn't even know these creators were here. So if they don't know you're here, they don't know they need to service you. You know,
I want to open up the conversation right now. I want to hear from Wes and anybody who wants to weigh in on this, because, you know, when you go to a PRO is there to collect your money, right? Representative, you know, we're not here to help really establish your writing career. Like, we're here to help collect money. So ultimately what I was informed, and I've heard this from different representatives, you know, go out there and make it happen, activate me, because I'm not activated as a performance rights organization until you have money to collect. So I want to open this conversation up, because this is where a lot of the conversation happens. We put a lot on PROs, but it's not just PROs, because there's publishers that have to be activated before PROs can really be activated. So I want to open this up to Wes. It sounds like you have something to say about that.
Yeah, I def do, Mimi. I feel like it was Shatrice that mentioned it takes a community. I mean, with PopSquad, it is a community of artist industry fans, but anytime anybody is looking for like that community to achieve some sort of results, success, like you need a good fleshed out, diverse mix of people who can make things happen. So that's like PROs, agents, managers, publicists, labels, etc. So I feel like it's interesting, like watching the pop scene. Like I've seen it grow from 2013 to now. Like I feel like the foothold was just like some shows, and then just like some like parties, and just getting people getting to know each other. And it took like a good 7 years for like managers, agents, and now, just now, like we're seeing Republic, Capital, Island start to sign artists that are in this market. It took 7 years of building those key stakeholders. So I think it's identifying, all right, who's our ride or die on the PROs, who's our ride or die on the publishers, and like key identifying those community members. And then just like Chris said, like have those conversations, like find people whose hearts are in a good place and who are going to contribute to the community and who are going to be additive, and just bring them in and make a plan. Like, let's get X, Y, and Z done. So that's what I think.
So it's really having support community, business community support around the artists to then like strategize, like how do we go and what case are we building for the publisher? What case are we building for the PRO? What case are we building for the record label? And I want to bring you in on this, Doc, because Doc is label owner, and he's been in Nashville accomplishing great things for so long. And how has, you know, looking at Nashville talent, what have you seen from the label side as it pertains to you wanting to sign someone or not wanting to sign someone?
Looking at Nashville as a city? Like
yeah, just looking at the creative talent here in Nashville and your interaction with this creative community of artists.
I feel like Nashville people seem more equipped. You know what I'm saying? Like, usually, like, it's funny because I always tell people, they're like, what's the difference between Nashville and LA or Nashville and New York or Atlanta? And I always tell them, I just feel like in Nashville, it's easier to get down to the business of things. Like, it's easier to get to the money. You know, every city has its own challenge, but I feel like sometimes you got to reach through like 20 pillowcases to find a person, you know, that's going to actually get you paid in other cities. So a lot of people that are serious about syncs, writing in general are here. I know the PROs aren't necessarily designed to support, you know, hip hop and R&B so far, but I feel like I'm not new to Nashville. I was here doing other kinds of music back in the early like 2000s when they had the 2 stations and Taz was here, and I used to mess with Taz a lot and everything. And I just feel like now is better. You know, I think Nashville's starting to become known for being a dope producer place industry wide. Like it's getting more and more press. Some of that's, you know, you guys just being here and being active and, you know, creating that energy. But I like Nashville artists, man. They're just always the ones that I've been interested in, you know, are usually really hardworking. They've got a sense of the business and what they need. I think when you're signing an artist, the hard part about signing an artist is they have to know what they want and then how they can use what you're doing to benefit them and how it benefits both parties. I always feel like labels and teams have a hard time with that because, you know, like labels are going to tell you, well, what do you want? And the artist is going to say, it's a blow up. You know what I'm saying? So labels are, all right, well, cool. You know, so like it's better when you kind of know what you want. And I feel like more artists here seem to know that than other places.
From a label side though, Doc, how has it been just like if the artist is by themselves? I know a lot of times indicators that they want to see, that people want to see is like, you know, this artist has a team. And if it's not a full team, it's one other person who believes in you and who's helping you on this journey. What is it that you look for that the artist can kind of do on their own that just makes you attractive to what they're doing?
I think knowing where they want to go as far as a brand, at least having an idea of what they're trying to accomplish, and they have built that to a certain degree to start it, that they're willing to work and be open, right? Like, and I know it's hard to trust. It's kind of I don't want to sound like the label bully because, you know, labels are always like, just do what we say and you'll be great. But I think, you know, artists knowing kind of what they want to do and being willing, you know, when you sign a deal, you're open. You should be open to what that label can do for you. So I know Gabby knows that all too well. And anyone else here doing any type of label work knows what it's like to work with a hard-headed artist versus an artist that's like, I'll stand my ground, but I'm willing to do that. I'll try that. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I feel like it's, as far as—
And are you finding that in Nashville? Are you finding those type of artists in Nashville?
More so than not. Yeah, definitely more so than not. Like, I feel like if you're in Nashville, you'll have, but it can work against you too. You can get around the wrong people that can mess you up too. But I feel like if you're in Nashville, you probably have a certain degree of understanding with music because there's so much music culture here. There's so many people that have been involved one way or the other. So I feel like the chances are higher that you're going to run into somebody here that's got someone on their team that knows what they're doing. Because, you know, the management thing can work for you and against you. A bad manager can really make it difficult to work with an artist. You know what I'm saying? So, but I find that Nashville is, you know, better when it comes to business people, like business-minded people. So the artists tend to be a little more business-minded.
And can I hop in with that?
Absolutely, Gabby. Hop on in here.
So me and Doc, our relationship came about because, of course, with RCAI Sony, and then we have Provident, we also developed an essential sound, which was more geared towards hip hop artists that we had that were more conscious. You know, we don't like to say gospel rappers because everything gets categorized as gospel and then they'll get put in a box when it's not exactly, and limitations are there. And what you have to ask labels or publishing companies or whoever, they have to get educated on the inside because we looked at Doc, we saw what he was doing with Derek Minor, we saw what was happening over at RMG, and we pulled in Doc to help as a consultant. So you really have to look for the resources that are here in Nashville and tap into them. So a lot of companies that have migrated here. So think of the fact that we all went on this pandemic, right? And everybody went to Instagram and everybody started using social media and everybody went live and it wasn't capable of handling it. It crashed, it burned, it was just too much activity there because it wasn't equipped and ready. So I think a lot of creatives move to Nashville and they go to BMI and CSAC and all these entities, but that they're not housing the correct people. So I think, as you know, that's where you have to understand where your strengths and weaknesses are as a team. And Doc knows we're a team that go get it. And if we don't know how to go get it, we're going to go find the person
who knows how to go get it.
Exactly. Because our publishers, our writers, our artists, we want to give them the best shot. And so if I don't know how to market you, I need to go and find out from one of my colleagues. And this is where it comes into play where the gumbo and all these
We
things.
need that music roll gumbo, baby.
We need
I
that
think
gumbo
Nashville,
because you
like,
should be
to add
able
on
to know,
to
like,
Gabby's point. Oh, my
go
bad,
ahead.
Gabby. I'm sorry.
No. I mean, we should already know, like, if I have an artist or a publisher that walks in and they're doing said worship or country or wherever, if I don't have anybody in my wheelhouse to make sure that I know who to call, you know. So I feel like, not to put everything on PRO, but if you're going to collect the money, you got to give the resources, or you got to know where to send them and not just say, go get it out on your own and figure it out, because that's where they get all the wrong information.
And that's what's
Education
happening.
still doesn't happen. And then you have a great artist or a writer that just, you know, doesn't get any play. That's just my 2 cents. I'll mute.
No, I love it. I love them 2 cents. We want to check in with Natalie, our correspondent. I know there's a lot going on in our chat room, and we want to make sure that our audience, they are engaged. This is something that's needed. We've been hearing and talking to everybody individually, and different pockets of communities this has been a topic of discussion, and so I want to make sure that they're included in this conversation, because that's ultimately who we're here for. Natalie, we're checking in with you. What do we have going on in that chat room? It's a lot popping up on my screen here.
There's a lot of conversation going on, you guys.
Okay.
One of the things that people are really talking about right now, since we're talking about PROs, is they're saying that they think that it's true that the PR offices here don't know what to do with non-country acts. They only cater to 1 or 2 specific genres. And so where can hip hop R&B artists and writers go for guidance or just help in general here in Nashville?
So who wants to take that question? That's a great question. And I want one of our panelists to speak on this matter.
Can you repeat?
Yeah.
Repeat that question one more time for us, Natalie.
Yeah, absolutely. So if it's true that the PR offices here in Nashville really aren't, they feel like they're really not sure what to do with non-country acts, where can hip hop R&B artists and writers go for guidance or just help in general here in Nashville?
All right. We got any takers?
I can talk about this a little bit, I think. Just because, can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Sometimes my mic goes out. Okay. Yeah, I mean, so like I was saying, I've worked at Atlantic for 9 years so far, a company that's based in New York, you know, has an office in LA, has an office in London, but my entire career has never been in New York or LA or London. Like, it's been in Florida, away from those cities, in Nashville, away from those cities. And that's relevant to me because, I think to that question, because I don't personally think that it's never just one thing, right? It's not the PR, when you look at how a PRO operates in general, they operate sort of in bulk, you know, they're like, anybody can sign up, it operates as a service. There is artist relations, and to an extent, so long as you have a relationship with a PRO person or somebody there, whether it's the Nashville office or the Atlanta office or LA or any of the number of places there's a representative. If there's anything that, you know, me not working in any of those cities or this pandemic has taught us, is that anything is possible in the age of the internet as far as collaboration. And you can do it from here, but it just takes an extra level of over communicating that sometimes can be a little bit difficult and challenging in and of itself. It's hard enough to have a conversation one-on-one with somebody and have your point be perceived exactly in the way that you intended it. I think the same thing goes with your career. So I think when you're asking the question, like, who do I go to? I think, one, don't put so much faith and importance on people that have done things, and don't discount people who haven't done things, because I didn't do anything before I told a guy I didn't know what I was doing, but that I believed in him and we made it happen. Like, look to the people around you and go with that. And the other thing that was a huge life lesson for me that made all the difference in any record that I've ever worked on that actually worked was just stop, like, just listening to what people tell you and listen to what people aren't telling you. We had this great I got to be in this awesome discussion with Brian and Eddie Holland, who are two people of a historic writing trio from the Motown days. If anybody wants to talk about the history of Holland, Dozier Holland. And the big thing he said was he started playing records for people and being like, don't tell me what you like about it, tell me what you don't like about it. And I think that's important here too, because I think there is great music, a lot of great music, but I think there's also this thing too of just like everybody working together to make sure that it's like, is this really good, or do I just think that it's good? And challenging each other to like level up the music constantly. So there's that side of it, but that doesn't completely absolve the business community either from doing its responsibility in making sure that we're not only empowering these artists and giving them advice where we can, because that takes like 5 seconds and can clearly have a lasting effect on a person's life in the community, but also to empower the executives that are coming up that have, you know, some like that you can bring in, whether it's internships or just even like spending the time and going out to shows with them and like working on like record and doing feedback, like all those kinds of things. So I think there's a like a look in the mirror happening on, you know, it's not necessarily artist versus industry, but I think that question just goes a little bit deeper of just like, there's not really one way to go. You kind of have to get creative with how you build your team up and strategically choose when you add people, so that you're not going to somebody and being like, give me something, but you're doing something, and you're like, your conversations with anybody, like the moment you create art, it has value and you have value being a human. It's, your questions shouldn't be what can you do for me, but rather, or sorry, give me things, but what can you do for me that I'm not already doing? And just not hold people to such, like, you're not trying to I always talk about a river in this standpoint. You're not trying to like jump across a river and get swept away. You're just trying to get some stones laid out, and that takes time, that takes effort, that takes patience, and that takes trying some things. And I think that's the best way I could answer that question, is like, you've gotta start trying some things. You can't just wait for the most perfect time to release your music. You can't wait for the most, like, can't wait for the label to sign you, because the success is going to come from, there was somebody who was making some really good points in the conversation.
Trez, he's on it. Learn to be valuable.
But and that's the thing, is it's like, I would go a step further. It's like, you have value, but it's just communicating it and identifying people who see that in you, and understanding that you're not supposed to be all things to everyone. You're just trying to find your thing, and you have a goal in mind, or at least you should, like Doc said. But the reality is sometimes like that goal is like not clear yet. And so that just says, take a step back, work on it. Like, it seems like there's more work to do there, you know? Because if you don't decide what your goal is and you don't decide who you are, then somebody else is going to do that for you. And it usually turns out really badly.
Are we seeing that because of the lack of development that we saw in past time in our music industry? You know, this whole idea and concept of development, is that a lost art? And is that hurting our creative community?
I think it depends, in my opinion. I mean, somebody else should jump in here and talk about the true development process here as it pertains to Nashville, because I can only speak to the 5 years I've been here.
I know Doc has something to say about development.
Yeah.
I think one thing,
too.
To kind of piggyback on that publicity question, the advice I would give you, if you were asking me, is I wouldn't worry about publicity on the front end. It can be very expensive, and there's a lot of people that do publicity that it's a hustle in itself. Like, there's a lot that goes on with publicity that's taken from someone that spent $30K and see nothing from it, right? These days, These days it's a little different because you have an Instagram, you have Twitter, you have Facebook or whatever, TikTok, like you're kind of like your own publicist, you know? Back in the day, you had to like go get someone to help you expose your music. You still need that, but I think there's a time where you need it. Like what I would focus on, one, is making sure that all your profiles look good. When I say profiles, I mean like Spotify, Apple Music, Pandora. All of them have ways to access your profiles, to update them, update your pictures, make sure they look good with every release. And then Spotify literally tells you how to be successful on their platform. A lot of people, I'm sure, have seen that, maybe not read it. Some probably have read it, but Spotify will tell you how to use their algorithm, you know, the best way possible, and even give you tips and pointers, and they're actually really good tips, you know, and just how you pace your music too. One thing I've noticed with artists is they'll go put a lot of money into recording and production. And this isn't to take away from producers or anybody else, but then they'll say, I don't have a budget to promote my music. But it's like, you could release 6 songs in a year and put all that budget that you're spending on production behind your ads and marketing. You know what I'm saying? And there's a lot you can do with that. And so at the end of the day, like, you work into publicity, you work into radio. Those are things you get when you start to hit a glass ceiling and you need more exposure. And when you're at that point, a lot of times a label will see that. They'll see you before you need that, trust me. And they'll come in and say, hey, let's do business. And you may or may not want to do it. But I would say the bottom line should be you're always trying to complete your profiles and turn over every stone when it comes to how you look online digitally. That's what gets curators' attention. That's what gets stakeholders' attention. Like, you know, when a lot of curators, they get hit with people all the time saying, check this artist out, look at this artist, you know, and you're letting this other person speak for you, you know, where it's like, they could even be like speaking for you in a bad way, you know. So at the end of the day, you really want to do all you can with your own devices, and then as time goes on, you start adding those other people in when the budget's there, the revenue's there, the investment's there based on your success, and that takes a lot of pressure off of you. It makes your life a lot easier when you don't think you have to find a publicist, and trust me, a good publicist will find you. You know, a good manager will find you. Like. And you don't have to come to Nashville. I mean, now this isn't to say Nashville can't do it. This is what I know about the music industry, and I think we all know this. If there's money there, people come. You know what I'm saying? So the more that we have success in hip hop and R&B and any other type of Black music, by definition, we'll see more people come in and want to spend money here with us, which I think we're starting to see some of that. It's just not big enough yet for like a major to say we should put, you know, a whole team together just for Nashville. But I think that time isn't too far, you know what I mean? Because Nashville's got a lot of people that are really talented, and there's some great schools here, you know, so it's just been built on the country thing. We all know that. But,
right,
you know, when the money's there, they show up. And I think, you know, I wouldn't make it to where, well, I only want to find a publicist here, like, or whatever, like, you can find them anywhere. But if you're staying here and you're working here, the idea is root yourself here and go where you need to go, but this is home. And then what happens is people see this as home, and it starts to attract other people to the city. And then, you know, we start seeing success that way. So just how we kind of look at it, because we've had to go outside of Nashville, inside of Nashville, but I prefer to work in Nashville. You know, if there's a publicist here that I can work with, I'll work with them, you know, if they can provide what I need. So I think most of us would do that if we could. And I think the more that there's a demand for it and a need for it, someone will get smart and say, we need to be publicists. We need an office down there. Look, all these guys that are down there and artists that are down there that would hire us if they knew we were available. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So it sounds like one common thing that I continue to hear is just community. It's not just the artist community, but the business community, connecting on platforms like this. And there's so many other platforms that are connecting the business, the people behind the business, and helping support these artists. So I want to ask a question to Lee right quick, because he has to leave in just a second. But Lee, I wanted to drop another fact of one of the percentages from the results. 47% felt like they had experienced discrimination on Music Row. 43% of our participants felt like they had not been discriminated against. Lee, you recently had a march on Music Row, #Black Music Matters. What inspired this march, and what did you hope to accomplish?
All right. So real quick, before I touch on that, I did want to just do a quick little something on piggybacking what Chris and Doc just said, and your question about artist development real quick.
Sure.
I think a lot of what's happening in today's music industry is process. Like the steps in the process have been eliminated, and people think they can just skip the line of the process. And, you know, everything that they've been talking about as far as with putting a team together, putting a strategy together, putting a plan together, you know, like, yeah, you know, like you have to see it from the beginning to the end. You know, I always use with clients, I always give them the example of in the James Brown movie when Little Richard told him, you better know exactly what you want because they're going to give you exactly what you want. And a lot of times artists don't even know what they want, you know, and they don't know the proper steps, what it takes to get to where they're trying to go to. You know, like you're saying stuff like with this, what we're doing here as far as with community. I feel like a lot of artists are out of the loop on, you know, how, like Doc was just talking about with a publicist. A lot of artists don't even know what a publicist really does for them. You know, like I ask a trick question a lot of times with clients is like, who's your PRO? And they like, oh, I don't got no publicist yet. Like, bro, that's completely, that's not even the same thing. It's got the same letters in there. It's not the same thing. You get what I'm saying? So I think lack of knowledge. No, seriously, I think lack of knowledge. And this is me speaking in general, primarily for, like I said, the rap community. I'm here on behalf, I want to really be a voice for the rap and hip hop community. And I feel like, again, a lot of it is just lack of knowledge. You know, Chris Martignago, man, A&R research, you know, does data research. Like he's looking online for numbers. A lot of these artists are putting music out, putting videos out on YouTube that ain't even been encoded. It's not even registered with their PRO. You know what I mean? Like small things like that don't even have an original ISRC code assigned to them. So things like that, that they wonder why they got X amount of views and no label is contacting them, or why I can't get noticed by these people or these people. Well, your stuff is not even showing up where these people are looking at, you know, for one. So things like that, like process and those things like that is where I feel like the community lacks as well, though. It's just knowledge of how the music business works. Everybody's taking part in the music industry, but I don't think a lot of people know how the music business actually works. So I just wanted to make sure I threw that in there because this is a business. It's like going into a restaurant business. You can't not know who to buy your products from. You know, who buy your food from, who to buy your napkins from, those different things like that. So, you know, that's where people have to be wise enough to delegate things out. I know everybody wants to be independent and try to do everything themselves, but you have to get to some point where you do what you specialize in and you bring in other people that specialize in what they specialize in. And that's how you build and grow and you take it somewhere, you know.
Where's the offering plate? How do we say this? Very expensive. We got to pass the offering.
Yeah, I can talk forever on that, though. But to the point of what we here for and what you asked me about, you know what I mean? Just
about the March on Music Road.
Yeah, black music does matter. So really what that whole thing is about also, so June 2nd, everybody knows that the music industry itself did a Blackout Tuesday, and they did somewhat of a stand in unison and an agreement for, you know, standing up for inequality and injustice and different things of that nature. But also what I felt like needed to happen was some actual action behind that. And it actually stemmed from a post that I saw come across my Instagram. A lady had posted about the Jubilee Singers and how the name, how the Nashville got its actual name, the Music City, which came from the Jubilee Singers back in the day, which is HBCU college, you know, how they sung, you know, Jubilee Singers Official University was HBCU, how they sung for the Queen of England. And she gave Nashville the name Music City. And so over time, that has went away from us having our part and place in this city of Nashville called the Music City. You know what I mean? So I felt like starting with a music row, letting them publicly see that we are here and that we do count and our voice does matter. Because at the end of the day, when you look at the numbers, like we on here now because of stats and because of numbers that we were able to collect. When you look at the numbers, if it wasn't for black music right now, it wouldn't be no music industry. And this is all the way back from the very beginning to even now what's keeping the music industry alive. You know, Spotify and all those things, you know, which all the big three are silent partners in owning shares in Spotify. Those platforms like that they're not dominant with country music. They dominant with urban and hip hop music. You know, your top 40 songs now, top 40 pop music, period. Pop culture has completely changed. When the last time you seen a product, whether it be a car or a cold drink or whatever though? When the last time you seen one of those products being endorsed by a country music artist or artist outside of hip hop or urban music? Urban music is running America right now. This is the pop culture. So this is real talk. This is real fact.
No, I'm with
People can
you.
look up that's what I'm saying. So my thing is, you can't be in a city like Nashville and calling it the Music City. It's not like it's called Country Music USA. It's called Music City USA. You know what I mean? So you can't be in a city like that and be a part of the music industry and not recognize the most dominant genre in the music industry right now. You know what I mean? I work outside of the music industry. I work downtown on Broadway. So I see the party buses go up and down Broadway all the time. And, you know, so these are primarily Caucasian, white women, you know, mid-20s, up mid-30s, you know, having bachelorette parties. And guess what? They're not playing Garth Brooks on their party bus. They listening to Ludacris. They listening to 50 Cent. You see what I'm saying? So you can't say that the music is not transpiring here. You know, for the last 3-4 years in a row, Vanderbilt University, a primarily white university, has had a black rap artist be their homecoming headliner. Come on now, these are all facts right here in our hometown. These are real facts right here in Nashville, Tennessee. You know what I mean? Majority of people, like you said on that stats that you had, majority of those people not even from Nashville. They did not move here to only go to downtown on Broadway to listen to honky-tonk music. That's not what they come here for. They came here because Nashville is supposed to be diverse. Nashville is supposed to be up to date and current with what's going on in the world around everywhere. You know, they just brought the Super Bowl, the NFL draft here. Come on, man, majority of them players that got drafted that night, man, they of our color, man. They listening to this kind of music. Even those players on those football teams, they not in the locker room getting hyped up to Billy Ray Cyrus. You see what I'm saying? They bumping some T.I. or some Lil Jon or somebody, getting them ready for that game, man. This is real facts. You
so
get
let
what
me
I'm
ask
saying?
you this, Lee. I want to ask you this because you are hitting that nail, you're hitting that hammer right on the head.
Oh, yeah.
What can be done? I know you have to go, but let's talk about, give me 3 things. What can be done on Music Row to help? Like, we know what's happening. We know what's happening with stats and facts. We know what's happening in our local community as it relates to the disconnect between the creative community and Music Row. What can be done? If you were the president of Nashville right now, Music City, what would you say? What can be done for solution? 3 things.
Like we said earlier, bring in people that specialize in this. You know, give people those proper positions. Even if you gotta, you know, instead of telling me I need to go to Atlanta, no, bring a rep from Atlanta here so I can be here in Nashville doing the kind of music I do, and let me speak to him while I'm here in my hometown, though. I shouldn't have to move out of town to do that. You get what I'm saying? So let's make the representation reflect. You know, I know Greg Smith is that's what they posted here, brought Greg Smith here to do for us, man. But you know, everybody don't see it like that. But you know what I mean? That's a whole other power game. But again, let's bring in people that reflect this. You know, that can feel our story when we come in there and we talk about this. You know, let's be more communicative though. You know, like we're talking about community. You know, it shouldn't take you guys, Nashville, not just country music, to once a year, twice a year to have to put an urban event together at ASCAP. When y'all the whole thing is like ASCAP is one of the only PROs that has an actual urban division. So while you have an urban office in Atlanta, you got an urban representative in LA, you got an urban representative in New York. These are straight facts. If you go on the ASCAP urban page on their Instagram, they got a rep in all those other markets. Why you don't have a rep in Nashville? It's hip hop music here. We had Young Buck got signed a record deal with Interscope and G Unit, a platinum selling artist. You know what I mean? Jelly Roll right there too, right there in there. Like this is all rap music that's right here in this hometown though. So it's not like the music hasn't been here and it's not credible enough. You know, you got Street Symphony that's from here, Grammy Award winning.
You know what I mean? Street Symphony done won Grammy Awards, done won Dove Awards.
Oh, Hip Hop
Got Sandy
Records.
Sanders. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Hip Hop Records, whole hip hop albums that he done executive produced for people though. So it's like, it's not like the music isn't here and it's not doing something. You get what I'm saying? Rachel didn't snatch up Tim Jen and them and then give them guys an opportunity with their publishing deals if they wasn't doing something. They don't have major deals, but they got major talent. And it's plenty of that major talent here. You know what I'm saying? And they just need to realize it though. You know, they got to let the guard down. Again, I'm sure they in this business to make money. Those are billion-dollar companies over there. You know, they're in this business to make money. But guess what, people? This is what's making the money right now. This is the money. This is what's making the money. And it's bigger than just, you know what I mean, our city. But again, why wouldn't we want to have that represented here in Nashville? Studios is here. Producers is here. You ain't got to fly me to LA to record my album. I can do it right there at Underground Studios on Music Row. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
we saving your budget. I'm trying to look out for your bottom line, Mr. Universal, Mr. Warner. I'm trying to look out for your bottom line. You ain't even got to put me up in a hotel no more. I stay at my mama's crib. Just cut the check.
Let's go.
You know,
I love it.
You know,
I want to say this. I want to say this before you have to
Okay.
go there. I do want you to talk about, because, and if you could put this in the chat, or we could
Gotcha.
just say it, talk about the music industry crash course, because I do know
Oh, yeah.
that you said that the lack of knowledge is definitely
Yeah.
relevant in this Nashville community, which it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be, because it's Music City and it's music business city. Like there's too many publishers in town.
It's all here.
Too much business
all
is
here.
happening. So could you I want to plug the music
All right.
industry. Yeah, please talk about that and put it in the chat so everybody can get connected.
Gotcha. So the MIC, the MICC is the Music Industry Crash Course. It came about, for one, I started off and still am 1 foot in, 1 foot out as a recording artist. But it took me to go to school. I went to school here in Nashville, matter of fact. Went to school at Nashville State, got my my degree in music technology. But I learned the music business. I learned songwriting. I learned music publishing. I learned how these things work and how they transpire to me taking my songs and making music from it. So what I wanted to do was put those 2-3 semesters of school that I had into an 1.5, 2 hour long course, a crash course that I can hands-on teach people as an artist. See, I've been to several panels. If you've been in the music industry, a lot of times you go to your A3Cs, you go to, you know, your taxi cab conferences, all these different conferences that they have, South by Southwest, all of this. But most of those people, 99% of the time, those people that sitting up on those panels, they ain't never been in that studio at 3 o'clock in the morning recording on an empty stomach. They've always been an executive. So they're only going to give you the game to a certain degree, just enough to keep you having to ask them or work for up under them. They're not going to give you the game. So what I wanted to do as an artist myself is give back to the backbones of the music industry, which is the creator, the songwriters, teaching people about publishing, teaching people about how a split sheet even works. I got my placement, you know what I'm saying? I'm a Billboard songwriter now, thank God, because of the knowledge that I learned about how a split sheet works. You know what I mean? A simple piece of paper, me documenting the percentage that I own, a date and a signature, matching it up with the producer that I did a co-write with, led to me almost got chumped out of a placement opportunity, but I was able to get it all reversed due to me knowing the business though and taking care of my business. So again, what I try to educate artists on is the importance of things like that. You know, BDS and media base, registering your songs and getting them encoded. You know, I used to be affiliated with BMI and never even knew what BMI did for me. You know, back when I was 18, 19 years old, I was just throwing songs in my catalog. I didn't know I could register those live performances I was doing at the clubs and could have been getting paid for that kind of stuff. I didn't know any of that. You know what I mean? So I want to take what I didn't know and what I found out, and I want to make sure that, go ahead. Sorry.
What's the website? Give them the web, give them the content, let them get plugged in.
Yeah, the website. Yeah, I put it in the chat too. But it's moneyunitedwithgame.com. We actually going to be upgrading a lot of things. But I'm putting it in the chat right now. Also, we just
.com. I love it. Money United with Game.
Yeah, it's Money United with Game because, and the reason why, you know, where that come about again, we all want to get to the money. And money can fall out the sky for you tomorrow. But without having game, which is really knowledge, without having knowledge in the sense of what to do with money, you're going to be right back where you started at broke again. You get what I'm saying? So if your money is uniting with game, and we do it from a music standpoint, our whole goal at Money United with Game, my limited liability company that we established, is to take an artist, educate them on how the music industry works, how the music business works, get you to start making money from your music, and take that money from your music career and start investing it into businesses and start growing you as a real brand and as an actual business, because that's what you are. You're a business. You step into this other side of it, you are a business. You're no longer an artist. You're no longer a writer, a producer. You are a business. You're MC, LLC.
Everybody dig into your pocket right now. We all owe Pastor Lee.
Good.
Thank you, Lee. We appreciate you, Lee. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate y'all. Yeah, man. Much appreciated.
Yeah.
Rachel, I sent you a DM. Doc, I sent you a follow. Wes, I'm already following you. So yeah, man, let's connect these dots, everybody. Appreciate everybody for checking in. Thank y'all for having me, for sure.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Lee has to jump off, but we are not wrapping up. Really,
I want to go ahead. I was gonna jump right into, because this is good. I want to check in with
we want to finish up. So I'm gonna work backwards since we talked to discrimination. Now, 70% of our participants feel that Music Row is out of touch with the creative and music community here in Nashville. Wes, what has been your experience with Music Row, as it relates to the pop community, and where are some of the sectors, where you believe Music Row would be beneficial to, help the mission?
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing the benefit in a few different places over the course of like 7 or 8 years. I mean, I'm thinking about the BMI showcases that have been happening, like that 8/8 at Mercy Lounge, for example. Like, that's always been a good diverse showcase in genres, especially for like hip hop, R&B, and pop. So I'm seeing that from BMI and Music Row. I can speak a little bit to like my full-time job at UMG. Like, they placed me here, or gave me a job here in Nashville, and we're able to do actually like work for major label artists that are based in Nashville. So that's like R. Lamar, it's like some girl named Anna, Chaz Cardigan, Devin Gilfillian. So it's encouraging to see like some resources come from Music Row, or even like the general music industry at large. To me, it's just like, what do our artists need out of Music Row? Like, I read the survey. A lot of people say they want resources. I think we zone in and it's like, all right, what specifically do we ask for? Because I feel like it's time to start asking for specific things. I mean, I love the conversation.
No, you're right.
Yeah. Like, okay, what are those specific things? And that's what I'm ready to figure out and listen to our artists, because it's our artists that need that.
So with that, then I would like to open up any questions that, not questions, but comments. And we've actually had a lot of people who gave us a lot of general information, right? Diversity, inclusion, representation on Music Row. I think those were the biggest things that we saw across the board. Inclusion, meaning that some of our participants didn't even feel like they were welcome on Music Row, or Music Row was intimidating to them. They didn't feel like they have access to those resources. So, and representation. We would like to hear from the viewing audience, like, what is it that you need? And ultimately, are those resources all coming from Music Row? What do you have access to that maybe doesn't require Music Row? So if anybody wants to jump in there, that's where I really wanted to land our conversation, is with solutions and ideas that are easy to implement and that could be a benefit to our creative community, because ultimately they're growing so fast and there is a disconnect. So I would love to hear from actually everybody on this, and I'll start down here at Gabby, and we'll work our way up.
I'm sorry, I wasn't ready.
Okay, I'm sorry. I should have saw that. I should have read.
Eric,
I was over here emailing, right?
This is what I would say to that. Everything in any industry, every gap and everything that you might see as a negative is really an opportunity. Opportunity to fill the gap. And when we talk about like this conversation of Music Row, you know, you really have to define what Music Row is/was. And what it was, the industry's not even there anymore. So a lot of that stuff doesn't matter. The studios on Music Row, who cares? You don't need a studio like that to make a hit record. Some of the offices aren't even on Music Row anymore, and they have diversified and moved off of Music Row. And so, you know, some of this conversation, you don't want to get too fixated on what's here and what's there and what we don't have this and that, because everything that you need to be successful is within an email, a Zoom call, and all these other things that time and space don't really separate as much anymore because of technology, right? And so I think a lot of it is just digging into your own creative bag and having the conversations with the people to build your network. And your network, like you know, for us, you know, it can start right in your backyard, and it will inevitably be beyond Music Row and bigger than Nashville itself. And that's what's really needed. And I think it's not like it's not here. It's building, as we found out in this conversation. It's definitely like a thing that's forming. We just have to stay on the course and keep the eye on the ball and keep pushing forward for that growth.
That's very good outlook and perspective. Chris, did you have something there to add? This is on the solution side. What do you all think? Because like that's where we want to land on ideas, creative ideas, solutions, how to best serve this ever-growing creative community as it relates to connecting them to resources.
Yeah, I mean, so a big thing is like, so just the Music Row part of it, right? Like a lot of, and somebody, I think it was Tracy, mentioned that Music Row as it was, you know, with the song pluggers running up and down the street, like it's not the same way that it was all those years ago, you know, and we've talked about history quite a bit in this, and Music City isn't Music City because of country music, right? It's because of the Fisk Jubilee Singers, and somebody in another country, I think it was the Queen of England or something, was like you guys must come from a place where music just like is everywhere, you know, and that's Music City. So to me, it's like Music City isn't Music Row. Nashville is not just country music. It's all of these things, but it's also music business is such a global business now. And I want to continue to reiterate to like have your conversations and not get so fixated on the people that keep saying no, but being like, okay, cool, you don't understand. So the two things I'm going to keep doing is like continue to work on my thing, but also continue to find other people that, you know, that get it. And those people might not live here, and you might have to work remotely, and it does take more work and it does take more effort, but it's gotta be that there's a reason, you know, there's a reason that like being in this business isn't for everybody, because there's this level of sort of like passion that has to come with the fact that you, especially in my job as an A&R person, it's like my job most of the time, like, you know, artists get frustrated by the no's they get from A&R people get frustrated by the no's that they get in the buildings that they work for. It's just a constant revolving doors of no, but no never means never. It just means not right now, and maybe not for me, but that doesn't mean that it isn't for somebody. So again, the solution to me is that network in the community. When you think you've met everybody, you probably haven't. I haven't met Doc. I haven't met Gabby. I haven't met Natalie on this call, you know?
Right.
And I look forward to getting to meet and connect with them. And I think all of the artists too, because I think there's just this constant sense sometimes that I get, at least, is that like, I'm so great, why hasn't it happened for me? But there isn't the second that it becomes like, okay, but what about this? It's like, but you know, the minute you present a solution, sometimes people just want to sit in that a little bit. So I think
space.
I think it's a little bit of just like having the positivity of like, you know, you're going to get the no's, you're going to deal with the systemic shit that exists. But we've got to navigate around it and rally with the people that see us and for who we are, and that see your music and get it and are like wanting to see you continue to succeed. And sometimes them wanting to see you to succeed isn't just saying, yes, I'll give you a deal and do this. Sometimes it's being like, I don't get this, and I don't think the music is good enough. And that you're not going to just hear that from A&R people. You're going to hear that from other people in the business. And I think it's just, I really think it's just like reaching out and being open-minded about who you're going to work with. You don't need to work with the biggest label. You don't need to work with somebody who's had success with somebody else, because just because I worked on a Paramore album doesn't mean that I can make another band that sounds kind of like Paramore successful, let alone like continue to help make projects successful. It's starting over every time. Everything is so unique, and you have to treat it that way. And I think that's the biggest solution I can offer, is just like,
I love that.
And if when you reach out to somebody and they don't know, just ask the question, like, could you point me into the direction of somebody who might get it? And I would say more times than not, when that's happened to me, like I've shared the music with somebody, and then I hear years later that meeting turned into this meeting, and then this and this and this, and you never know where it's gonna go.
Where it's gonna land. So true. I love that. Perspective. Yeah. When you believe in yourself and you believe in what you're doing, you're going to find the people who get it. And sometimes you got to get the no quick. Don't linger in that no, but get the no quick so you can go find your yes. I love that, Chris. Thank you so much for that perspective. Doc, as it relates to solution, man, what do you think? How do we move forward? How do we move forward as a community?
Man, I think, you know, it looks like, I mean, I'm new to this community right here, so it looks like we just have to keep adding people in that may not be aware, of course. And it all comes down to the artists. I mean, you know, we need the artists to be here for there to be a community, so the industry can be here. You know, because the industry knows where the art is. You know, and I think for the artists, I know it's hard. A lot of artists are dreamers, and it gets emotional with music and art. But if you can just focus and pin your success to just your growth as you go, and take your time and breathe, you know what I'm saying? Like, you'll do really well. You know, I always tell people on the team, you know, the thirstier you get, the harder it is to find water, you know what I'm saying? And it costs a lot more, and you lose a lot of time. So, you know, you just gotta take your time, build a good team, pieces at a time, get mentors. There are mentors in Nashville, plenty of them, because music business is still music business. You know, yes, it's different to market pop versus hip hop versus country versus gospel, but the idea of marketing is the same, and the routes are similar. You know what I'm saying? So don't be afraid to go out to these concerts or panels or different things and hang out and just get to know people and see what kind of wisdom they have. And before you know it, there's, like, I forgot who said it. I think it might have been Eric, the other side of the mind comment, or maybe it was Lee that said it. I know both of y'all were talking back to back about the topic of being in the PROs and stuff. But, you know, if you put yourself around it, around the culture, around the music, around I wouldn't say the club environment, I'd say more the business environment. You know, the club is for the party environment. Some stuff happens there, but not a lot. You can't even talk in there. But if you get out there, like, to the panels and to the writing, you know, the guest writing opportunities, the stuff like that, you'll meet people that really have an opportunity to take you another step. And the more you get into somebody's eyesight, the more they think about you, the more they might bring you in for an opportunity. I do things all the time. If I see someone that's a songwriter, Universal will hit me and be like, hey, we're doing this stomp clap situation. We need 2 more songs. There's some money attached to it in publishing. I mean, I don't write the songs. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just going to go find whoever I got that can turn it over real quick. So make yourself a business. Think of yourself as a business and as an artist, and take your time growing it. There's never a shortcut. The green button is not a real thing. Don't let anybody tell you there's a green button. You know,
don't exist.
You know, I think the artist is the solution. If we can cultivate the artist and we keep having stuff like this happen where the artist feels like they can go and get resources, it's kind of like, you know, a 360. You know, the more we do this, the better it gets. So keep doing these so that we can keep encouraging the artists, and we can keep uniting ourselves and networking, and we can build together. Because there's like everyone on this screen right here I want to work with. You know what I'm saying? So my screen has all you guys on it.
And
Just so you know.
I will say this. I do want to say this before I go to the next person. Rachel, I'm coming to you. But, you know, thank you, Thalia, for curating such a panel of experts, a panel that have expertise, and they have a passion and a heart for the Nashville local creative community, and they have the knowledge for the music business to help move us forward. So I appreciate that very much. Rachel, solutions. You guys are already a part of the solutions, but what else? What more? What else do we do?
Yeah, you know, I feel like I'm definitely at a place lately where I have more questions than solutions. I
love it.
know that's particularly helpful to say, but I guess that's sort of just my honest answer, where I'm in a place where I'm open to hearing what people need and what people are lacking. I feel like maybe the one solution that comes to mind is sort of curating your own version. When we talk about like Music Row, to me, when I think of Music Row, it could be a very different Music Row than one of my peers is talking about. And for me, Music Row is a lot of the people on this screen. It's a lot of different, maybe it's less like, oh, we work with these companies in town, but I can sure as hell tell you, you know, a number of different champions that I've found around town who just get what we're doing and sort of are like-minded. Right. And so I feel like just finding people who champion your music. So often I have friends of mine who are writers or producers who are like, you know, I'm feeling a little stuck. I really feel like I need a manager, right? That'll set me to the next level. And I think rather than getting tied into that mentality of, oh, this is the thing that's going to help propel my career, who cares if it's a manager or a publisher or a label or a student? Like, we just hired this girl, Leah, who's an assistant with us. She's amazing. And she has a good friend who she has just been a champion of. They went to Belmont together, loved her music. And then, you know, Leah graduated. We hired her on. A year later, Leah just signed her as her first signing, you know? And who's to say that just because Leah was a student a year ago and now she's working at a publishing company, she's someone who understood the music, who is passionate about it. And those relationships just, you know, they stayed.
I love it. Love that.
Yeah. And I think the other thing is maybe not being so tied to one version of success. I know that that's something even in my own career thus far, I've sort of had to adjust. And oftentimes I view my role as a publisher, especially when it comes to being an artist. A lot of my role in my mind is how can we get creative with not only helping to break this artist, but helping them make money. If that means this artist wants to get a K-pop cut, why not? Like, let's do it. Let's learn that market. If that means, you know, maybe in their vision board of what success looks like, they didn't have in mind writing for film and TV, but guess what? That $5,000 check could be not only huge for helping to, you know, finance your next music video, but also having your name flash on ESPN. Like, it all feeds into the same system. And so just finding people who are willing to get creative with helping you reach those levels of success, and then also sort of allowing yourself to be open to the opportunities around you, even if they don't look exactly like you're expecting them to look.
I love that. So we have a couple of hashtags that are amazing so far. The number one is Music City Gumbo, given to us by Miss Gabby Jones. And then the second one here that Rachel just said, find your champion. Hashtag find your champions. They're out here. They're ready to hear it. And I believe that they will help, whether that person is a person of music business or not. If they have and believe in what you're doing, they're going to get you connected to the right people. So hashtag find your champions. And I want to go to Natalie, actually, because Natalie, she's our correspondent, but she's also PR. She represents publicity as well. Natalie, I just want to get any insight that you have or anything to share with artists in the creative community as it relates to our conversation today. Anything in general and anything on the side of solution, encouragement and empowerment that empowers the artist.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hi everyone. I know I haven't spoken a whole bunch during this meeting.
And she's amazing. I want to say that Natalie is amazing.
Well, thank you. It's been awesome to be a part of Mimi and Thalia's journey. We started working together back at the beginning of the year, so seeing the strides that we've made together, just me kind of managing their overall brand and us starting out with some great publicity for them and getting their, Nashville is not just country music. That organization is really a voice of the people and of, the community of creatives in Nashville who are outside of that country genre. And so I'm very honored to just have been a part to be the voice of the voice.
Be the voice of the voice. I love it.
Just to answer your question from a publicist's point of view and a brand manager's point of view, like Doc and a couple others hit on earlier, a lot of artists think when they hire a publicist or a manager that it's going to completely change their lives and that everything they're going to have, wake up to 20,000 Spotify streams on a single that just had 200 yesterday. But it really is a team effort. It's a collaborative effort. It's understanding all of the pieces of the puzzle that really go together. And that's what I try to do with my clients. I work with not just artists, but creative entrepreneurs that are really trying to start a business, or in, Nashville's not just country's a movement, if you will. So it's really important to make sure that you surround yourself with the people who have the same vision that you do, who are excited about the same things, that you're working in tandem together, and that you understand that it's a slow burn, I like to call it. It's not just going to happen overnight. It's focusing on each of those pieces, and PR is just one small part. If you have a publicist can't talk about things that aren't happening. I try to help my clients create stories, create buzz, come up with catchy headlines to get that interest, but the artist, the client, has to have a story to talk about, something to sell. I'll do my best to package it up and we'll sell the crap out of it. But the artist or the creative is bringing that meat of the story to the table, and it's us, to work with everyone else on your team. The publicist isn't the only one. You have a manager, you have your business manager, your tour manager when touring was a thing, and hopefully will be again soon. They're all working together to create the best possible scenario and get that artist to the next step. So, if there's any way that I can help, we're talking about solutions and bridging that gap. If there's anything that, an artist needs help with, then I find that's my job, is what are the steps that you need to take to make things happen. I'm going to do my best, use my contacts, use my resources and my knowledge to help you do that.
Awesome.
Connect all those pieces. So
thank you so much for that, Natalie. I just wanted to let everybody know we did have someone from all different aspects of the music business, and it takes all of us to get the job done. Wes, I want to hear from you, because you're actually the one who kind of triggered this question for us and shifted our conversation. So what do you think? What are your thoughts? And, where did your mind take you when we're having this conversation? How do we shift?
I want to think about it. I want to think about it a lot more, and I want to have the conversations with the artists, because again, it starts with the artist. Like, that's
right.
Where it comes from. But at the end of the day, I mean, maybe we should play with some other ideas. We've kind of talked about how we as panelists can use our own individual resources to help artists. What can the city of Nashville do? The city of Nashville does a great job at fostering like the arts, our music community, and we've seen history of them investing in business. So like, you know, like what was it, 17.5 million for Amazon. So I feel like, you know, let's reinvest in some music. Maybe what could we do with those kind of resources collectively? So maybe it's maybe there are some things that we can get involved with civically. I think it's probably because it's an election year that's on my mind. Hey, let's all register to vote too and get involved in that way.
Thank you for saying that. You're just all on my paper today. I love it. I love it. There's synergy there. Now, Gabby, you weren't ready before, but Wes, I do agree with you. I think that is really hearing directly from the artists, having conversations. And I know Eric, Rachel, Doc, Chris, everyone here is having those individual conversations and just collecting all of that information and plotting out, which is what you all have been doing, you know, plotting out steps to move, to be a part of Nashville's progress, to be the trendsetters and the innovators that are helping to accomplish the things that we're setting out to do. Gabby, I do want to hear from you because I know you weren't ready before, but I know you're ready now. I see it in your eyes.
I was writing down my notes from everybody, getting tidbits from everybody. And I think for one,
I love it.
The
student of the game.
So listen, I was over here like, okay, I'm gonna be ready and prepared. I will say definitely the voting thing, Wes. Like that's, you know, there's no rock to vote. There's no for gospel. There's no souls to the polls because churches are not open. So there's nothing that's there wise, you know. So I feel like music is the embed to everybody. You either had an upside to your life and the song is attached to it, or you had the lowest point in your life or in between. So music is so relative to just the soul, the community, that type of thing. I feel like, yes, we don't need to worry about the past of what Music Row was, definitely acknowledge it, but we have to evolve Music Row like music evolves. So we have to look at it from that perspective. So I also, I don't know if it was Eric or if it was Wes, about homing in on certain key things that are needed. So I love how, you know, the surveys kind of generically kind of, you know, from a hierarchy, but we just home in on different aspects to whatever an artist. And I feel like we should take it from how the onboarding to the end. So what, you know, one-on-one, the first thing you should know about the music game when you're trying to be an artist, when you're trying to be a writer, when you're trying to be a manager, when you're trying to be a public, whatever facet that is, we give them those tools and then we move from there. And then those sessions just kind of repeat themselves. Like once, and at the end, when we've developed an artist or that artist have everything to go fly, you know, then we restructure or we, you know, it just kind of keeps, but it's a consistent thing.
It's a system and a process.
Yeah, and it's about us being our work and everything, but I think it should be enough of us or people that are on here. Maybe we have to have a call to action or whatever, you know, so that there's enough representations for every facet of a music person, you know, whether it's in the front or behind. And I think from that point, then we should be able to kind of, you know, move on from there. But I think this is great because for me, this is like I told Thalia, I was like, I'm not really on panels. And when Doc was like, Gab, I was like, Doc, I saw that, you know. So I've been here 7 years, but I haven't really, you know, been involved in where I want, you know, for my own personal impact, because I think as executives, as members of this community, you know, we have an expectation of someone brought me along, someone let me shadow Phil Thornton that has, you know, I walked into worlds and I had to like sink or sail. So, you know, but, you know,
you must have sailed.
I did. I sailed a little bit, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes I'm still in the waves, but, you know, and I know with how things have changed, it's not so easy with NDAs and artists and things of that nature and business and bureaucracy that you cannot have a mentee ship going on. But I do feel the behind the scenes of what we need to come up with something like that, because we get asked this question all the time and people jump to 10 and when they haven't even figured out who they even are as an artist, not what they want, but who are you? So
That's right. I love that. Thank you so much for that perspective. I want to echo one thing before we wrap it up. And thank you to our viewers for being so engaging and being committed to this conversation. We're going to continue to do our part and keep this moving forward, call to actions, creating events and times and spaces for us to connect in this fashion. I want to give a big thank you to all of our panelists for your expertise, for your time. They have carved out 2 hours with us to serve you, local Nashville community. And so it takes all of us to work together in this facet. I do want to echo in conclusion, I also want to thank my business partner, Thalia Ewing, an amazing woman. And so we appreciate you so much as well, Muziqueen.
Thank you, thank you. Ditto that to you, Mimi.
Rachel said something that was important, and I think we've heard this before, like the church is not a building, it's the people. Music City is not a row, it's the people. And so I guess the best thing that we can conclude from our conversation is that we are Music City. We are the solution, we are the answer. And so let's stay connected. You know, you guys reach out, these panelists, I've seen them in the chat. They've given their social media handles. I don't think they're extending that with a false pretense. I think that if there's an invitation to connect, connect. And that may or may not lead to something, but connection is the key. But just know that we all together, we are Music City, and we are our solution. I do want to highlight, Wes put in the chat that 6 o'clock, you guys, a great follow-up to this conversation is happening, Dear Music City, and that is with, I believe, is it Beverly Kill and Shannon Sanders? That will be a great follow-up. So get all the knowledge that you can. Anytime somebody's about to spit game and give insight, y'all go over there and check that out. Make sure you're following at Nashville. It's not just country music. We have a lot more things planned coming your way. We also follow Mimi and Muziqueen. That's a whole nother journey, and we're having fun stuff. But we are here for our community, our creative community. Nashville is not just country music, but it's all of it. So we appreciate y'all. Peace and love.
Thank you guys so much.
Each of our panelists, love, love, love.
Thank you guys. Thanks for tuning in. We
Yes,
love
thanks.
you.
Thanks, y'all. Love you
Hey,
too.
Robin.
Thanks.
Bye, guys.
Stay
Bye,
happy
everyone.
and healthy, everybody.
Bye.